Hey guys, this is Fourth and Snarky. So, for the first episode, I thought we'd talk about something that almost everyone knows about. Well, not really. Outside of Northeast Ohio, you probably have no idea what this episode is going to be about. So, let's start talking about the Factory of Sadness. I'm in the unique position of growing up in Northeast Ohio and not being a Browns fan. I mean, it's honestly hilarious to watch the hijinks of the team and have no skin in the game. But for everyone else that I know and love, they do adore the Browns through and through. I know people who still talk about 1963 games as if they were some magical experience. And to be honest, they probably were. I mean, come on, it was the height of the Browns. Jim Brown was playing, Paul Brown was still coaching. I mean, what else is there? So let's start from the beginning. In 1944, the Browns were started by Mickey McBride. I know, the worst name like ever. He hired Paul Brown to be their head coach, and hence the Browns were started. Now, from 44 to 64, those 20 years were amazing for the Browns. They dominated the AAFC, they continued to dominate the NFL, and they were winning championships. They were getting titles, and then everything went to shit. I mean, honestly, like, it's the Browns. Of course, everything went to shit. But that's mainly due to Art Modell. He bought the Browns in 63, fired Paul Brown. I mean, of course, let's just fire the person that the team is named after. Totally a good move. I mean, honestly, like, if you think of Art Modell, you think of just a villain. And that's what he is. But we'll get to him much later in the podcast. Now, after 64, the Browns kind of started falling off. And I don't mean kind of started falling off, they did fall off. Other than Jim Brown, who is arguably the only player the Browns have ever had that is a true football player. I mean, the guy is a legend. Side note, I've met him several times and he was the sweetest person ever. I mean, growing up in Northeast Ohio, you do get to meet quite a few of the Browns players. It sucks when you're a Packer fan and there's no one around. Anyhow, going into the 70s, they were bleak. I mean, like, real bleak. It might as well be 2015 Browns again. 70s and 80s, just crap. I mean, 79, 80, they started to get a burst with Brian Sipe, but I mean, honestly, like, they don't do well picking quarterbacks. It's a well known fact. I mean, we will also get to this, but in the last 25 years, they've had 38 quarterbacks. 38. Like, a ridiculous number. Anyhow, getting back to the Browns' history, they got the nickname the Cardiac Kids because Sipe was able to make some crazy plays in the last several minutes of the game. They got to the playoffs, but again, it's the Browns. They didn't go anywhere. Then in the late 80s, they got the Duck, Bernie Kosar. I also had the pleasure of meeting him. He's a very nice man, but he runs like a duck. Go back and watch film. I mean, some of those games, he basically waddled when he held the ball, but I digress. Anyhow, let's talk about the true villain in all of this, the Art Modell of it all. The 94 season was not great. I mean, even though they had Belichick as their coach, which again, Belichick went from the Browns to then a winning team. Most players have gone from the Browns to a winning team. Coincidence? I think not. But the problem was that Modell was having money troubles, obviously. Or maybe it was monkey troubles. No, it was definitely money troubles. He was having money trouble of his own making. Back when he bought the Browns, he did some shady stuff with the sale of the land, who owns the land, and then leasing it back to the Browns. So let's back up just a little bit. Art Modell created a leasing company called, wait for it, Stadium Corp. You know, the most creative name that you could have ever went with. So he created Stadium Corp, then subleased the land that the stadium. Let's do a brief background here. Modell was doing shady things with the Browns' money. He leased the stadium, then subleased it to the Browns through a company that he created called, wait for it, Stadium Corp. I mean, when you're really thinking big brain stuff, you think Art Modell, and you should let him name all your stuff. Then he sold the land back to the Browns without consulting any of the other owners. Because even though Modell owned it, he was only the majority holder. The other owner, Bob Grease, dude is a badass. He sued and won. And then Modell was made to look like a fool because, let's be honest, of course he is. But way back in '86, he was already starting to look to get out of Cleveland. He met with people in Baltimore to talk about getting an expansion team or possibly moving the Browns entirely since the Colts left. Halfway through the '95 season, though, it was leaked that the Browns would be moving. Modell confirmed it, basically blaming the city for the problem. Fans were pissed. The team's final home game, which was against the Bengals, unruly fans in the dog pound rained debris, beer balls. They were pulling up bleachers. I may or may not know people who still have those bleachers in their garage. They forced officials to move play to the opposite end of the field because they started doing this before the game was even over. Obviously, it's Cleveland. What else would we do? After a bunch of legal battles, the city won and was able to retain the name the Browns. The following February, the warring parties reached a compromise. Under its terms, Modell would be allowed to move his team and personnel to Baltimore, but would leave Cleveland, the Browns, their colors, logos, heritage, a deal to reactivate the franchise in 1999. Modell was also ordered to pay the city of Cleveland a little less than $10 million. But honestly, that's like nothing. Compared to what the Browns were making back then, honestly, the city deserved way better. The fans deserved way better. But of course, it's Cleveland. So then the expansion team came in 1999. I will tell you, watching the fans react when that expansion team got started was hilarious. Everyone's pissed off or they're super happy. They have no players. There's basically no coaching staff. And thankfully, the NFL gave them money to even be able to get any personnel and to upgrade the stadium, which, let's face it, was in shambles after the '95 game when the fans ripped the stadium apart. So if it weren't for the NFL, not Art Modell, not the city of Cleveland, the NFL, the Browns wouldn't be here. They gave them millions of dollars to be able to do everything. Now, with the '99 team, new management, the expectations were so high. But that doesn't change year to year with Browns fans. Every year, Browns fans think, and let's be honest, every fan thinks that their team's going to the Super Bowl. The difference is, Browns fans know they're not. After the return, they saw a brief success, but that was only because of Tim Couch. And he is revered up in Cleveland, and with good reason. He is by far the best quarterback that they've had. That's not saying much, though. I mean, it's the Browns. Since 1999, they have had 38, 38 quarterbacks, and not a one of them has been good, other than Tim Couch, who honestly is kind of mediocre, but he's the best they had, and Baker Mayfield, which they let go for Deshaun Watson. You know, you've heard of him. The guy who missed 2 years because of allegations. Yeah, that dude. He's still not a good quarterback. He hasn't really played with the Browns. In terms of their quarterbacks, like they had Manziel, they had Brissett. Brissett was also quite good. But what are they to do when there's so many coaching changes? I mean, they're still paying certain coaches because they just let them go. When you're sitting here watching all these people get pissed off, it's hilarious just to watch. Between their horrible drafting, like failed experiments on the field, off the field, like There were so many glimmers of hope. Every season, those first couple games, you see those quarterbacks really start slinging it, and then nothing. I mean, honestly, there's nothing. It sucks to be a Cleveland Browns fan. Thankfully, I am not one, so it doesn't suck for me. But my favorite team has had their struggles as well. The front office of the Browns, I don't think they know how to pick any offensive players. I mean, their defense is stacked. They have done so well. And other than running backs, their offensive line is just kind of crap. They've gotten lucky over the years with a couple wide receivers who stay 1, 2, maybe 3 years. But in reality, they all go to better teams and get paid a ton more money because, of course, they will. Because if you see a glimmer of hope for any player that's playing on the Browns, why wouldn't they leave? Honestly, I thought Myles Garrett would leave way sooner. The fact that he's still with Cleveland is a testament to him because he's willing to put up with crap. I mean, that's all there is to it. He has put up with so much crap. He has been the team the last 7 years. And good on him. He deserves it. He deserves all the accolades because he is the only one, other than Nick Chubb, who is a real player. I mean, the fact that they got Flacco, who came out of retirement and did better than, oh, their golden boy, Deshaun Watson? Yeah, they should have stuck with Flacco. But instead, they made a huge financial decision and kept Deshaun Watson and now have no salary cap. You know, normal Browns stuff. Just the Browns doing Browns things. This episode is about the Factory of Sadness. Let me give you a brief history on that. In 2011, comedian Mike Polk Jr. had a viral video about Cleveland being the Factory of Sadness and how his family has had their season tickets for the past 47 years. And all this building is, as he points behind, is the Factory of Sadness. Now, he's completely right. There has been nothing since '64 to give any of these fans hope. I mean, for crying out loud, watching the games is just sad sometimes. I mean, look at their records. 2016, 1-15. Listen, when they won that last game, every fan that I know was upset because they weren't doing the failure parade. But they got it the following year when they went 0-16. There are only 2 teams who have done that in the past 20 years. One, Detroit, who completely turned their organization around. They have an amazing head coach. They have an amazing team. And 2, the Cleveland Browns, who still have no team, who still don't know what they're doing. We were at the stadium just a couple weeks ago for a preseason game because I'm a Packers fan through and through, and we were playing them preseason. There's a certain stigma that comes with being a Browns fan, unfortunately. You're going to get made fun of. Even all around Northeast Ohio, you will be made fun of. But it's normally your friends just messing with you. Even with all the team struggles and all the Art Modell shit and all the quarterback issues and all the front office issues, Cleveland Browns fans love their team. And I mean, love their team. They take it to extremes. I've been to some tailgates for the Browns-Steelers game, and it is downright nasty what I've seen. Fist fights breaking out so early in the morning, hours before the game starts. But they will defend those Cleveland Browns with everything in them. And good for them. Why shouldn't they? I have totally defended the Green Bay Packers in many a bar, in many a person's basement watching the game. Even when we've lost, I have to say, the fact that Browns fans have to experience so much loss over and over and over and over ad nauseum. I mean, the fact that they're still loyal is crazy to me. Because for me, I would have packed up and been like, okay, maybe I should just stop watching football for a while. Nope. My grandmother was a diehard Browns fan, and Indians fan, and Cavs fan. Honestly, most Cleveland sports teams just aren't great. She would fight with anyone about the Browns will be good this year. Just wait till next year. Oh, let's see what happens in the draft. By the way, nothing ever happens in the draft for the Browns. Despite all the Browns' challenges, the fan loyalty is nuts and kind of refreshing. They always have that hopeful outlook, even when the pessimist in me is like, this is just sad. Hence, the factory of sadness. As well as my take on Deflategate. Thanks, guys. Go Pack Go.